The Progressive Empowerment Party is expected to take on all 141 electoral districts across Trinidad and Tobago in the upcoming local government election. However, they aren't expected to go it alone. This will be as a result of alliances forged between the party and other groups. One such group, the Reunited Farmers. And we have joining us this morning the chairman of the Progressive Empowerment Party, Felicia Holder, who is going to tell us a bit more about some of the plans and what exactly the PEP is offering to citizens and those who would be interested in coming and running under the umbrella of the PEP, or at least those who are interested in voting for something different. Felicia, good morning and welcome to AM Prime.
Good morning, Nikoli. Thank you very much for having me on the program. Good morning to viewers and listeners.
Of course. Now, we are in the thick of things. It's an election season, and you know, in Trinidad and Tobago during election seasons, all kinds of things go haywire. But one of the things that we are noticing is that alternative parties, as I mentioned, as I usually refer to them, as opposed to smaller parties, are getting some media attention, are getting some traction, because it seems as though these larger parties are seeing the need to involve other voices. It's imperative that in order to win the election, you have to be able to consider some of those persons who don't traditionally vote or who don't feel the need to vote on a regular basis. In terms of PEP's position right now, because people would have wondered, is PEP or has PEP always been interested in forming alliances and so on? If you can just give us a bit of context so that we know that whether or not PEP has always been open to the idea, or it's just that now the time is ripe.
Well, I have to definitely say we have always been open to the idea of forming alliances with interest groups, with the alliance that we just formed with the Reunited Farmers. They were the byproduct of the ex-colony workers who have yet to receive their visa packages. So we marched with them last year. We have been responsive to several activist groups. TSTT came to us, we fought on their behalf. And we have over the years been reaching out through the public, saying that if you would like a better country, if you're fed up of the red and the yellow, because if you notice, we formed an alliance this local government election, but we did not form an alliance with any of the two political parties that we know of, because we're not just looking for the same old, same old. If we wanted to do that, we would have just joined up and form a band and contest elections, as many have done in the past. But we're looking for longevity in this. We're looking for sustainability. We're looking for people who may not have been politicians in the start, but they want to get involved, just like the PEP, in fixing the country, in a better Trinidad and Tobago. So what you would find is we're not forming and aligning ourselves with political parties, but more so activist groups within the country. So we have the Reunited Farmers, they represent the ex-colony workers, we have the TST workers, and we keep reaching out to and encouraging these groups, especially disenchanted groups, to come forward and come join the Progressive Empowerment Party, because we are stronger together. We can. There's a third force. I remember mentioning on an interview yesterday, there's a group of people who do not come out to vote at all. And you see them come out ever so often. They came out for the last CUP, UNCDPP Alliance. And I believe that we have the opportunity to bring them out again. They just need to see something that is viable. They need to see something that is strong. They need to see something that is going to, again, make a better life for everybody. That is all the PEP stands for, and we're willing to work with any groups that also share that vision.
Understood. Now, the PEP has obviously contested, this isn't the first election that the PEP is contesting. And I would imagine, and also know from experience, that with each election that you contest, you gain more and more experience, a lot more groundwork is done and so on. What can you say may be different this time around in terms of the environment, in terms of people's willingness to come out and support not only as a voter, but also, let's say, to run, to walk with the party and so on? Are you noticing anything different compared to, let's say, the last general election that we held, which would have been in 2020?
Definitely. I mean, right now I need, I have an assistant. I need two, because I need somebody to sit down and go through my phone and respond to all of the people who are reaching out, who are saying they want to get involved in some way, whether they want to be candidates. I mean, up to this day, the PP is still screening for candidates because you think that you have your slate and there are more people coming forward. Some may have been better than the people that you screen. And of course, you want to put the best up, but it's amazing the response that we've been getting. I remember wondering at the start of the year if we would have done a local, and now it's literally around the corner. And I can't believe that we have literally established ourselves to the point that we have people coming to us trying to join the organization, people coming to us to volunteer on election day. And I mean, that's nearly 2 months away,
Yes.
but we still have that support. We have groups coming to us. I mean, the farmers approaching us after we would have worked with them in the past. That's a big deal. We have, I would say this rounds, the media seems to be a little bit more open to us. So a lot of things have changed, and that experience, like you said, definitely, I mean, if there's ever a reason to contest an election, it would be for that experience, because it's an entire process in itself that I think many people underestimate. But at this juncture, I think as the chairman of the party and as a former candidate, I think I'm pretty well versed in that electoral process.
Excellent. Now, obviously, one of the factors that in some cases determine the outcome of an election, but really determines whether or not parties are able to send up candidates, are able to contest an election at full scale and so on, has to do with resources. And I think as well, political parties, alternative ones, are held to a different standard compared to the main PNM and the UNC, in the sense that when you see new political parties come on the scene, there's a bunch of questions that are being asked of these parties that don't usually go toward the larger parties, and there is that expectation that you put out the same kind of input as these larger parties. What is, in terms of your strategy to attract resources, if you're willing to share, because there are persons who want change, but in order to get that change, you might have to put your money where your mouth is. So how are you all reaching out and getting persons to donate in kind, but also financially to the party?
Nikoli, I feel like you're asking me my campaign strategy there. But I will divulge a little bit, because we are very open and transparent about where the funding of this organization comes from. And it's been the same for the past 6 years. Literally, our members, our supporters, both local and foreign-based, they believe, just like us, in a better Trinidad and Tobago. And they believe that the Progressive Empowerment Party is the vehicle to take them towards a better Trinidad and Tobago. So we have our donors based internally in the party, based as just supporters and volunteers. Again, our overseas team, we have teams in Canada, we have teams in New York. We are re-establishing our team in Florida, in the UK. So we're building that support system of expats and the wider diaspora, people who would have left Trinidad and Tobago, whose navel strings are still buried here, because this is where a lot of them say, this is where I'm born, this is where I want to come and die. But many of them don't want to grow up die in a country that is as badly managed as Trinidad is right now, Trinidad and Tobago. So they are the ones who support us. I was mentioning again on an interview yesterday, I remember the Obama campaign, specifically because of the way it was crowdfunded. I remember he was saying, give me $10, give me $5, give me $50, give me whatever is in your pocket to help us fund this. And that is basically how we as a party have been doing it. I've been encouraging my candidates to go out to their, actually no, I don't want to get too deep into my strategies here, but it is our membership mainly who is funding and keeping us afloat. And thank you. I want to say thank you to that membership, because we could not have gotten this far without you. We appreciate you, and all the support is needed for this one.
Excellent. Now, one of the things to really lay the groundwork for proper collection of donors and so on has to do with legislation. Now, in 2020, the Prime Minister had introduced the Representation of the People Amendment Bill, and it was supposed to deal with the whole issue of campaign financing, reforming the system, and in my respectful view, really leveling the playing field for all political entities. But we haven't been able to see that come into play. Without that being in play and just continuing in in the environment in which we exist. How difficult do you see it being for alternative parties such as the PEP and others who are trying to make a dent, who have people within the party who can really bring about change and serious change, but they have to get over that first hurdle of getting funds, getting the media on their side, being able to reach every single corner of this country? How difficult is it for an entity such as the PEP to navigate in this kind of space?
I'm glad you mentioned the uneven playing field, because that is basically what we are in right now. You find that the media stifles, unfortunately, the other parties that are trying to make a breakthrough. So it's been a process trying to break through to the public to get your message out. So it is difficult in some regard. I remember the last election, we would have purchased airtime only to be told, we would have booked airtime, sorry, only to be told another party paid some more money and was able to get that particular time slot. And I mean, this is the kind of unfair behaviors that we have to deal with. So the fact that, we don't have campaign finance in what would be the fourth election that the Progressive Empowerment Party is involving itself in is extremely sad. However, I do think that the hurdle is not as big as it would have been a couple of years ago.
Okay.
These parties are paying for a lot of airtime on media, etc. However, what I have found and what is becoming even more important is the ground game. I'm watching headlines of the PNM saying that, is it PNM or is it UNC? One of the parties saying that the others are coming, the other side is coming across to their side, whereas we have so many people right now trying to join a third party because they're just fed up of the two. Yeah. And while we have the Progressive Empowerment here as a third option, we continue to beat the ground. We continue to listen on the ground, and I listen on the ground, and the ground is saying that they want neither. And you're watching the crumbling of one of those parties. You're watching how people are disinterested in the other party. And this is now the time. The time is extremely ripe for a real third option that can capture the people's hearts, that can capture their votes to break through. Yes, money talks a lot, but we're in a political climate right now where things decide, the pendulum can swing on either side. And I think we're getting closer to the place where it's going to swing on the side of change.
Understood. And I mean, we could only, not only just hope, but we have to work towards it, obviously, to bring about that, because no kind of change comes around from people just sitting down wishing for it. Now, one of the questions that I know people usually have when it comes to alternative parties has to do with the idea of, well, if you don't get the majority, then what's the sense? So people aren't really in tune with the concept of at least get one person in. Let's at least have one individual in representing the party, and you start change like that. I want to find out, what is your message to those individuals who may be thinking it doesn't make sense casting their vote for an alternative party because essentially they will be stuck in the system, would not be able to bring about the change and so on?
Well, as it pertains to a local government election, I can understand why people think like that, because local governments, I mean, as the general man on the street right now, they're not even sure which election is approaching. They just know some election is happening. Many people don't even know the difference between local and a central government election. And on a local level in particular, a lot of people have grown disinterested. They think it doesn't work. And I would have to agree, the local government system as it is right now is set up to fail. However, despite that, and despite the fact that it has literally been failing us for year after year, the Progressive Empowerment Party, riding on the heels of our campaign slogan, Philip will fix it, our party slogan, Philip will fix it, we have been getting things done outside of office. So for those who are concerned about casting their vote and thinking that it's wasted, think about it as it is right now. You've been doing that for X amount of years for parties that have been unable to meet and match your expectations. We are not in office. We don't even have the power and the money and the resources that local and central government have. Yet we've been behaving and performing like we are the government. We are the people that people call when they have issues now, not the government. They call us. They call us because they know that they can't turn to the government. And they're not even bothering with the opposition because if they can't fight for them in parliament, they're going to fight for them outside. The PEP, the Progressive Empowerment Party, with our new alliance, with our new partners, I believe that just like that year when when the country was able to mobilize itself and those voters, the stay-home voters, the swing voters who came out, I believe that given enough incentive, given a real choice, a real serious viable option, that they would cast their votes sensibly. I believe no vote is owned by any particular party, and that notion that I am PNM till I die, I'm UNC till I die. I hope those people not still, well, let's hope that they're fizzling out. That's the best way to say it. But that mentality, I hope in, and I'm seeing it slowly happening with the ones who will PNM UNC till I die. But more particularly the younger crowd, the ones who are coming up, the ones who are looking into the future and seeing very little hope and opportunity. Those are the ones that I'm counting on to be sensible. Yes, local government election. Yes, a local government itself as it's set up, it's not really set up to work. But put a Progressive Empowerment Party councillor in office, put us in local government office, and you will see things work. We have a track record, it's proven. Give us the office, you would see even more results.
Understood. And talking about in terms of local government being able to perform within local government, I'm sure that the PP has looked at the legislation that would have been introduced in Parliament and passed as part of that reform of local government. So we see in certain respects councillors being given more responsibility, being put as full-time and so on. So it is expected to give the effect of more productivity coming from local government. So let's say PEP is successful in capturing, let's say, one or several of these corporations across the country. What can persons expect in terms of, let's say, your agenda items to be able to get done while in office? What kind of governance can we expect from a PEP-led municipal corporation?
Performance and results. That's basically it. Performance and results. I mentioned earlier about the resources. Yes, they would have reformed it a little bit, but they have not actually given local government, they haven't given councils the teeth, the bite that they need. We all know how local government is set up, and the Progressive Empowerment Party has an idea of how we would like to restructure the local government system to actually give these councillors who they've given an additional stipend and additional hours, but to actually give them direct access to the resources that they need, the paperwork, the red tape that you have to go to just fix a pothole in a community. This is the problem with local government. It has to go through all levels of approval. You have to wait on central government to release funds. It's why it doesn't work. But with or without those resources, like I say, with or without office, Progressive Empowerment Party has a track record for performance and results. One of my shadow MPs from Oropush East, she reminded me yesterday of the work that they did on Gardiner River. I remember they were able to go down there and fix and repair parts of the banks. This is a river that floods every rainy season. Outside of the rainy season, sometimes it destroys the homes around it, and they were able to go in there and fix it to the point that they were actually able to bring the opposition MP into the area because he's seeing that the PP reps are there doing his job, and they got involved. And that's what we will continue to do. We will continue to shadow the government. We will continue, if we get the opportunity to be inside, we will show them what it means to work. And I can say this with 100% surety because I know my work ethic. I know the work ethic of my political leader. I know the work ethic of my team. I know what we want. I know our vision. And I know the steps that we take to get there. I know that we're not people who say and accept things as they are. Yes, it may not work now, but we're not taking no for an answer. We got in this because we care about people, and our job as local government councillors, if not anything, is to care for and represent the people. So we will continue to advocate on their behalf. now that we have office, speaking it into existence, of course, we could hope it's going to be easier. But where it's not, we're still going to show the people that we are working on their behalf and performing.
Understood. And my final question that I really wanted to jump into, in terms of local government is really approaching, and we have candidates are expected to, or prospective candidates are really expected to file nomination papers and so forth next week, the 26th, if I'm correct. That means we still have just a bit more time, a couple more days. Is it that over the next couple of days we're going to still see PEP screening candidates? Do you have a cutoff time by when are you all going to announce your candidates for the upcoming election, just to give us a bit more of an understanding of where you are at right now, and especially for those individuals who might be very well interested in putting themselves up under PEP umbrella and wanting to know how much more time that they have to get involved.
Well, I want to say the cutoffs for screening would have been last week, Saturday. However, because of the response, we still have people reaching out to us. I guess people are accepting their mantle and deciding to step up to the plate. We still have screening ongoing. So if you would like to be screened, you can reach out to Satish Ramsar, and he's our party organizer. His number is 796-8172. Or you can reach out to me, Felicia Holder, I'm the chairman. My number is 769-4590. We are accommodating screening still. I mean, outside of the councils, most of which we have chosen and settled on already, there are other positions like aldermen, and even if you're not in local government itself, we are constantly, as a party, inside, outside of an election season, we are constantly screening for candidates. A lot of the local government candidates who came to us, we actually found would be better as general election candidates. So we had to put them on a back burner. But it's an ongoing process. We advertised when we did our relaunch, rededication of our office space back in January. We said that we are officially in election mode, and we've been preparing for an election since then, and we've been preparing not just for local, but for general as well. So we will continue to screen. We will please continue to show your interest, because whether you're selected now or for future purposes, we want you involved. The more people coming on board, getting involved in this, the faster we can build.
Excellent. And well, folks, if you're looking on right now, you want to find out more about the Progressive Empowerment Party, you can check out their social media and also their website, pepttmedia.com. Of course, there you can find out more information, you can donate, you can join, and give support to an alternative party who is seeking to help bring about change in Trinidad and Tobago. Felicia, thank you so much for joining me this morning and sharing information. Any final thoughts?
I just want to reiterate, it's peptt.com, not media, peptt.com, that's our website. Any final thoughts? Yes, I am encouraging Trinbagonians to really think about the power of your vote. I think we have, for too many years, been told that our vote belongs to somebody or our vote doesn't count, whereas it's quite the opposite. And if you only understood how powerful your vote is, how important your vote is, you would mobilize yourselves towards change. And I understand that in the past we have not had credible options that you think could bring about that change. But for those who are not familiar with the Progressive Empowerment Party, for those of you who are familiar with the Progressive Empowerment Party, you would know that change and a better Trinidad and Tobago is what we are all about. And if you follow us, you would see that we have a proven track record that we will continue to build on. So this election, this local government election, I understand that you may not pay attention to it, but this is literally a referendum in our country right now. And I want you to take it as serious, because those two established parties, the red and the yellow, they're looking on to see what's happening. And I think it's time we send them a strong message that we as a people are dissatisfied. We want neither of you, and we are pursuing new political options for a better Trinidad and Tobago. Your opportunity for that is now.
Thank you so much, Felicia, for joining me this morning and sharing more information about the PEP.
You're most welcome.